He literally invented the computer, the modern computer, the digital computer that we still use today on paper. He didn't build one. All the principles are there and all the parts are there.
This is really fascinating because he wrote in the 1930s and there's no computers per se. But who is Alan Turing and what do you mean that he was writing?
Well, Alan Turing was a very famous mathematician, very gifted mathematician. Most of his mathematics had a tendency to incorporate statistical probabilities. He was very good at finding things through data and mathematics and probabilities. And you got to understand something, this is probably something most people don't know, is that up until about the mid-1960s or so, a computer, when you said a computer, it was a human being. It was a person with a piece of paper, maybe a slide rule and a pencil. And that's just working out his rough work on the table according to whatever he was calculating and computing. That might have been how much fertilizer had to go on per acre given the soil sampler, or it might actually be the trajectory of an artillery shell, you know. And so you can see that maybe you've got a little bit of time to get it right with how much fertilizer goes on the acre, but not necessarily with the artillery shells. So you can see that necessity for turning around information, calculations, computing very rapidly led very rapidly to the need, and not need, but want for more power and more money. And the more rapid you can compute, the more power you can have over your adversaries. And so the computer, you know, has always been the human being, but what Alan Turing did in his 1936 paper on computable numbers with an application to the Skydunks problem, he literally invented the computer, the modern computer, the digital computer that we still use today on paper. He didn't build one. All the principles are there and all the parts are there, including binary code, including the scanner eye, including the storage, including the hardware, everything he laid out in how it would work. And his whole reason for doing that was to solve a problem that David Hilbert, a mathematician a generation before, had challenged the mathematical community to come up with a decision algorithm. It was a decision problem. He proposed that, is there an algorithm that we could write, that we could run a question through, and we would know whether or not there was an answer or not? Instead of maybe spending 3 weeks or 6 months trying to figure out if there's an answer and come to find out there isn't one. Can we just come up with an algorithm that's called the decision problem, in Skydunks problem? Alonzo Church, a contemporary of Turing, figured it out that no, we can't mathematically, but Turing simultaneously had taken a very novel approach, and he invented a machine that would actually take the place of the human being, including the state of the mind, the information, the memory, all this stuff. And he determined that with this machine, if there was no answer, it would just continue to run and look for an answer. If there was an answer, it would halt. And therefore, he determined, too, that you can't write an algorithm that can just determine whether or not there's an answer.
I am pleased to announce the launch of the new LSNTV app, which can bring all of LifeSite News' top video content direct to your phone, tablet, computer, and TV so that you can bypass the censors and keep fighting with us for life, faith, family, and freedom. Don't be alone in the darkness. We've been canceled. Fight the cancellation. Download the app.